Okay, so I'm going to be making a video talking about a few things such as chakras and how, for example, I'm a Libra and how it affects you differently maybe than somebody else. It is all, like I mentioned in my last video, I noticed that the sound was cut off, same with the short version of it. So I'm recording this now on my phone, now that there's room, and then I'm gonna upload it. Hopefully it won't have sound issues unless YouTube did that. So I'm watching this, which I took a screenshot of, so I'll just share with you the screenshot. And this gentleman is talking about the Book of Wisdom, and when you are spiritual, it's like everybody, whether you're religious or spiritual, you can get different information, whether you're aware of it or not. It could be very subtle, or it could be like right in your ear, like through nightmares or anything like that. Okay? So I understand that there's psychology and all of that, but these are essentially all like how I want to say it, and this is like a fully baked idea. Just I need to be able to structure it properly. The longer I wait, the more I realize people are talking about these things, and maybe it would be more beneficial to have different pieces of it already published, and then I can redo them or have somebody else redo them later on, like reword them or put them into proper paragraphs. So this is a screenshot I took of the video, the short that he had up. And before I talk about this, which we'll go into this, I'm going to mention, as I was saying previously, that all of this is like a ripple effect. So whether you're looking at psychology, so Sigmund Freud, and I don't know if it was Sigmund Freud that also talked about your dreams, but the hierarchy of needs is very important. It's essentially your chakras. But what I'm trying to get to on the side note is everything is a ripple effect. So the chakras, hierarchy of needs, the prism where it's like how light shines into like a crystal and then it shows it up as a rainbows, all these kind of things are the same. I had to start my education, my knowledge on this realm, and when I say in this realm, I mean like on Earth where there's matter, there's physical things, at this age. People talk to me about this when I was younger. My parents were so into this stuff, but I never understood the concept, okay? And not by never, I mean it wasn't in my conscious mind. But I don't want to go into that because that's like not the same thing as what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is the top three. So I mentioned earlier that I'm a Libra, right? And Libras are supposed to be about balancing the scales. And this is why it's good to record, but this is not a fully baked idea. This part, okay? The bottom part, when I talk about the bottom part, is not a fully baked idea, and we'll get to that. But the top part, I totally get it. Meaning, which literally translates into love, expression, intuition, and wisdom. I'm really good at that. Or I was anyway, until I got into the lower frequency, so other people's shit. When they say like you're an empath attracts narcissists, as I'm growing older, I realized that those empaths that chose to stay but couldn't leave, and I've like dealt with abuse shelters, I've dealt with abused women, I've dealt with even on a personal level, people afterwards would go in and have discussions almost like those who were quitting alcohol or drugs, where they go and have those discussions. It's like I forget the name, there's a word, it's like Alcoholics Anonymous or something like that. And it was one for those who were victims of narcissistic abuse or violence, okay? And I just couldn't stay in there. Even though I understood everything they talked about, I could have conversations and got like was a part of it. I just couldn't, and I couldn't understand why until I got out of it, and I realized, and I just like healed a little bit. I healed like literally less than 10% of what needs to be healed. So when I was born, I've had a lot of stuff happen to me. Like I've had 6 surgeries just in Iran, and like I was born at 7 months, so I was literally really small. So there's a lot of things that happened without my consent, without my permission when I was a kid. So that affected these bottom chakras. So it affected my sex, food, power, which means that other people were taking advantage of me. Sex is, I've had hip replacements, going on my 9th surgery, hopefully in the next month or 2, and it is something that as I've healed that, as I've kind of got real hips, even though they're not real, they're I think it's called like Biomed or something. Like, I knew it. I thought about it last night. I was talking about it last night. Bionic. I have those type of hips and femur, so it's not even real, but it significantly helps me. Why? Because my pelvis is shifted to be straight up. My spine is getting better, right? Because it affected my spine. So I'm really good at these aspects, but as I was healing this, as I grew up, I decided, okay, you know what? I'm in pain. I need to heal that part. And when those things happened, a lot of shit happened in my life, and a lot of shit happened in these people's lives. I'm not saying you have to have surgery, but it's essentially the same thing. If you've been victimized, like sexually assaulted, if you've your power was taken away, if you're given bad food as you grow up, like you're either poor, you don't have any proper nutrition or anything like that, it affects that, right? And I'm digressing, I'm making it a conversation. What I'm trying to get to essentially is about balance. I have to remember to come back to that because I didn't write any notes, and I felt like I should, but I'm like starving right now, and I wanted to not eat because I've been having like not really healthy food, and I want to make a video about this. I will make a video about this moving forward. Like when you have things like, if you're on a period, you have like pizza pockets or anything like that, or like sugars, like white sugar, that affects your system. And as I'm getting older, there's other things that are becoming balanced. Like you're in life, there's stressors, your gallbladder's messed up, like all these kind of things. Your kidneys, like if you take a lot of medication, like these things like can get ruined. And as you age, also your teeth can get ruined, because your internal system is like messed with. And you can look into Chinese medicine, and they talk about, and like if you've ever gone to reflexology, if you've had a massage or gone into a chiropractor and they do reflexology on your foot, like they will know, if you have a good practitioner, they will know exactly what your problem is without you even mentioning to them, like your personal problems, like your health problems. It's happened to me when I had a huge ovarian cyst, where I had the decision to either surgically remove it, this is before I got my surgery in Canada on my hips, or take medication to try and lower it enough so I can withstand the pain. And I chose not to go for surgery because I was like terrified of any kind of surgery, because I've already had 6 in my life, and I was like imagining the lights and aesthetics and all these kind of things, like coming out of it afterwards, and it was just like really bad, and it was just like constantly in my head, worse than the actual like feeling, the pain. Like the feeling was there, but I was so good at dissociating for most of my life. So it was just like these 6 surgeries affected me in such a way where, like, for example, my mom would like literally screw me over, like literally, like because of whatever her issues are, but she like we would be the victim of abuse. My brother probably doesn't really realize that, especially because I'm the woman, I'm the girl in the family, and I'm the daughter. So that's just like, also in Iran, I've learned recently that men overpower women even if they're not Muslim. And I learned that on my own because I was in a taxi a few weeks ago, and the taxi driver was talking about religion, and I was just like listening. I'm like, I'm not religious, but like naturally this is my religion by blood, but my mom was Muslim and blah blah blah. He was going into it, and he was stating things like how he dropped somebody off at church, and the girl had to be dropped off like far away from the church, and he was like puzzled, like why? And apparently she had to walk through the back because women don't walk through the front. I didn't know that, and I lived in Iran. I had no clue that this happened. And like another thing is that she would see that their husbands would walk like 20 meters ahead of the wives, and I was like, oh, I thought, like, is that a Muslim thing? Like, I thought that was just like ego. Like, I thought that was just like the guy doesn't, like, it's avoidant attachment. This is what I mean with all these things are essentially the same. And I know we're talking about religion in this example, but he was like, no, it's in their culture. Like, the men, like, go ahead. Now, I don't know him. I don't know where he got the information from. I don't know who the Muslim was that he got the information from, or if it was just from his observation. But that is exactly what happened to us when I was growing up. My parents and I and my brother, like our 4-person family, immediate family, went to Dominican Republic, and my dad left me and my brother like so far behind him, and our legs are tired, and he's trying to find the cheapest restaurant, and he's trying to find the best deals, and he would make, especially me, like I've had the leg issues, he would make us walk for hours and hours, and in the middle of nowhere. Like, Dominican Republic is kind of like scary if you're not in the tourist area. We were like way outside of the tourist area in their little city where barely anybody spoke English. They had those like little cars, and my dad was like, we could barely see him. We didn't have phone back then where you can like internationally call if some emergency happened. We had nothing, and I literally had to like scream at my dad a couple of times, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you walking so far ahead? Well, you guys are too slow. And it's like, there's no protection at all. In fact, he's the violent one, and it's like, you have to keep quiet because nobody else understands. Everybody wants to like attack you, and what does my mom do? Attack me. You're supposed to know what you're doing. You know English. You're educated. And it's like, okay, so that affects these 3 chakras, right? So it says sex on here, which is true, but with sex you create a lot, and it's like the same thing as creativity. But with expression also, like, this is the thing that I don't know, and I recently learned, well, not so recently, I kind of knew this, but I just recently learned which chakras are which, so I just don't have them memorized. So apparently chakras are connected, besides the connection that you see in this with this picture. But like, for example, the root chakra is connected to one of the other chakras, and then the heart chakra is, I think it might be love and root. I don't know. I think heart and root are connected. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It might be heart and wisdom, but I can Google that, or if somebody wants to write in the comments. But like, intuition is, for example, connected to something else. Okay? And with sex is like expression. Sex or root is also security. It's the earthly realm. And there is also another thing that I don't have in this picture, but there's also other diagrams of chakra where you see it go down, but there's also something out here and something on this side too. So it's almost like a system. Like, you know how you have like your bike, you have the chain running? It's the same thing. Well, similar thing anyway. I want to give you another example. It's like a belt. Like your belt, I think my car had a belt instead of a chain. And so, or no, yeah, I think was mine a chain or a belt? It was one of them. But I learned about that concept when I was like coming out of university, when I had my car, because I can drive after my surgery, and hopefully I'll be able to drive. It's a lot. But like, I mean, I can drive now, but it's just like, it's I was supposed to be able to last year. Anyway, like, I was supposed to get my surgery last year, and anyway, it's like, essentially, usually when I get my surgery on this leg, I know it's going to be on this leg. Now I talked to my doctor and he said it's not a problem, like, it should be fine within a month. But like the last surgery, I wasn't allowed to drive for like a long time. For me, it was a long time, so it wasn't worth having any paying insurance vehicles or anything. But like, I was in rehab for a month and a half just because I wasn't allowed to put weight on it. And yet I put weight on it just because it was too much to bear, to be able to do anything. Like, even when I was back at my mom's house, like, literally she kicked me out because of whatever reason. And our laws state that even in like, if you're living in a house and you don't have, this is why I was paying my mom. This is a rant, but this is an example of how this like affects you and how the lower chakras need to be balanced with your higher chakras, because I will go into chaos. There's a lot of chaos that's been created in my life, and I can get into witchcraft too, but it leads the way into witchcraft where people can do witchcraft on you, especially those who have been ruining your life essentially up to that point. And then when something happens, like for example, I got my surgery and I feel a little bit better, then they get in because now you're gaining your power back, because now this is getting balanced all of a sudden, and those people don't like it, but you're not fully healed yet, so they use witchcraft to ruin your life, especially if they know how to use those things. If they don't, same thing, if they gossip and slander and create drama in your life and you're not yet there. I mean, I'm now there. I'm like, I see the value that I hold now, whereas before it would be clouded or it would be wiped away from your memory, which most people are like, oh, that's not possible. Yeah, it's possible. Like, you guys, like, people who are not even spiritual can have memories lost, that they realize later on that they lost that memory, but they can grasp that that was an actual full concept, like it's a real memory. Guess what I'm getting into is like trying to prove to those non-believers that this thing in our mind is real, and it's a real like a real thing. Like, it's not just a visualized idea from thin air, is what I'm trying to get to. It's like a real mental or spiritual and cognitive thing that happens. Okay, so let's say with my mom, like, I knew that she was going to cause problems. I just knew that because she's done it all my life, and the year prior she tried to force me into a decision, and not just force me, but like just get so emotional, cause so much emotion in me, and havoc, and just the most amount of emotions in me that it caught, like, she was trying to get me to make a decision that was very harmful. So then, because that happened, I knew she was going to want to kick me out, because I've seen what she's done. Now that I'm in my power, now that I've traveled, it's like, ooh, Priya traveled, she's by the beach. She doesn't see all the other aspects where, like, you're depressed most of the time. Like, 90% of the time I was depressed. 70% if I look back and I enjoyed the day, but like 90% of the time, like, my body, like, I was just like being attacked, just through things and through life happening for, like, to me, and I mean real things happening to me, not like, oh, my landlord didn't like me, or like, oh, that person was mean. No, I'm talking about like real shit. Like, you wouldn't have water for X number of days at all because of some person, you know, and then like things that really affect you and get to your physical level and your soul and your emotions, and like can literally get into your skin and muscles and things like that. It's not just like something you can change your mind about, or just like create a new habit for, because it's literally ingrained. It's almost like if anyone's gotten into a car accident or gotten disabled, it's like, oh, well, just change your mind and grow your arm back. No, that doesn't happen. Or like, imagine you have an arm, you can do it. So I think that's one of the reasons so many bad things are happening to people, and it's not I think, because again, it's all connected, which is why I'm making this video. I'm going to start with the higher realm. One of the reasons it's happening is because these people, not all of this is why I always thought, oh, everybody can have these lights and everybody can be psychic. Yes, everybody can, but if you've done shit in your life in the past and you came here to either right your wrongs, so fix whatever mess you made, so you come back and you try to right it, most likely, if you're not there yet and you're still going to be manipulating and you're still going to be mean, by mean I mean being mean, like a mean human being. I'm not saying like protecting yourself or like holding boundaries or holding your power, because people, unless you get into a higher, like an actualization, like a hierarchy of needs, if you can actualize, if you can't actualize, you're not going to understand what people are saying. You're going to get your own, you're going to project it onto people. You're going to project your own understanding. Same thing with me. I'm starting to understand a lot more through learning about myself on the physical realm. I know about everything on the spiritual realm. Like, I literally, God comes through me and talks. And it can come through other people too, but especially those who have ADHD, which is essentially, I've talked about this before, I don't know if I posted the video, is actually trauma and CPTSD. So it causes a discord where light can come in and shine through and can literally take over you. It's not the same thing as what the devil does. The devil does something differently, and the devil is so valuable. It's essentially all the same thing, and sex also is devil. Earth is devil. Creation is devil. It's like, that's part of the reason why the entertainment industry is the way it is, and a lot of things are coming out now, because it's like, that's a part of what the devil does. That's like their work. That's their job. It's like the cops have a job to catch bad guys, catch thieves, right? And the justice system has a job to bring those thieves into the right, like it's like, what do they call it? Christians talk about this, where it's like day of justice or something, Justice Day. I know it, but hopefully you guys understand. And essentially, like, there are good cops and bad cops, and I shouldn't have gotten into this, but I'll come back up. There are good cops and bad cops, and the good cops, the ones who have a hierarchy, are the real demons. They're Lilith. And it's so funny that this happened to me, because Lilith came through a few years ago. I think I made like an Instagram live video, and I was just like, just reading through it, like I could barely like understand what I was reading. She was pointing me to what she wanted me to say and what she wanted me to educate myself on and gain knowledge on. Okay, so who else is, and this is not a demon or a devil, but the lady who has the snake on her head, and I know this, but and a lot of people get tattoos of her because it's a symbol of being raped, or and I shouldn't say these videos, but raped. I'm just gonna say it, and I know at some point I'm gonna have to be mindful and change those words out, but I'm not monetized yet, so and who cares about me being monetized, because I'd love to take this stuff that I talk about on a different platform so that it's safe kind of for everyone, and I can hold longer videos and then like kind of connect them to different things, and hopefully you guys will be able to analyze what I'm saying a lot better, and categorize it, not categorize, but analyze, so that you can see like, oh, this connects to this connects to that, because categorizing is just like saying this is here and that's it, and it's in that category, in that box. And where I'm going with this, how science works and how science is going to be in the future, it has been in the very past, but it hasn't been in a way where our world is where it is today, where we have to relate to concepts like war and like how money works, how food works, and by food I mean like like the things that you grow in your garden, like produce. Like, how do those plants actually work? And how does CPTSD, like back in the day, I'm sure we had something such as CPTSD, and I'm talking like before the pyramids, okay, before the pharaohs and all that. I'm talking about those ages. I'm sure they understood that. They knew it. I don't know if it was just the goddesses that knew it, the ones who wrote the books, like the prophets that knew it, but I don't know if the general population knew. And by general population, I'm assuming just whoever's in their town or village. I'm using those words. I'm sure historians can come and say, oh, this is what it's actually called. English is my third language. So vocabulary is one of those things, especially with writing. So I'm like, if I write, how am I going to say what I want to say? Because my thoughts just keep going. So going back to this, yeah, because fruits and vegetables are very, very, very important. And especially those that are being modified, yeah, they'll get modified, they'll feed us. But what about when those people who made these things, okay, pass on, then they're forced to come back onto Earth and reap what they sowed. A lot of times they're like, oh, I don't have to do this and do that. Okay, well, maybe next time that you come back, you're going to be a poor child in a village in like Africa or some other place. And yes, your humanity matters. I'm not saying that those people, that's all the same, because no, that's why a lot of light workers come in here. And all these aspects are I don't want to say stronger, but like, do I want to be psychic? I mean, I would love to do other things. I would love to be able to do some other cool stuff. Being psychic isn't on my list. Trust me, it's not. Because it's a really, like, it's one of those things where it's like a double-edged sword. Just as high as you can get, it can get very, very low in this lifetime. In this earth, how it is right now. So, a lot of people who pass on, they need to come back and right their wrongs. Why? Because the sins that they did, and by sins I mean literally ruining the earth. This is why the demons and devils are very important. Because they're doing their job. They are literally preserving earth, which is why it's the root chakra. I know it's red and earth is green, but the root, I wonder if, I think the middle of the earth is it's a metal. I wonder what I know that, but I don't know if it's like really, really hot, where you would like die. But I understand there's other symbologies for the fire, because Zoroastrians also have fire, which is also purity, okay? So with the demons and the devils, it's distorted, okay? Where you give your shit to the devil, you're fucked. Because you are already fucked, if that makes sense. You were already messed up so badly. Like, when the devil came to me, I didn't have to worry. In the beginning, I was like, okay, Kayla, can you, like, what do you want? Like, what do you have to say? But I don't have to worry. Because that, like, I already have a contract with, let's say, God, or, like, of a higher light and power, that, okay, let's say something bad happens to me. Nothing bad is essentially going to happen to me. Like, what's the worst thing? Die? It's actually not the worst. Like, thank God if I can die. That would be great. I've already tried it. Didn't work. They laughed at me when it came back. And I woke up. Okay, and by they, I mean the spirit realm and my guys legit laughed in my face. And were like, what the fuck? Like, you're staying here. You're going nowhere. So it's like, okay, if that's the worst thing that you can do, based on my concept, it's like, actually not. Okay, so what's the other worst thing you can do? Make me suffer. Okay, so I suffer. What those people are gonna get is at least 2-3 times worse than what I got. I don't even have to freaking lift a finger. I don't even have to, like, ask my guides for anything. But when I do ask my guides, when I do get in my power, that's when shit gets real. And how does that work? Okay, so my goal and my intention is to worry about the environment, and not worry, sorry, to work for the environment. I didn't know that before. I unconsciously did things that helped with that. Like when I was in high school, I was obsessed with like eco stuff, like obsessed. Like there was a book that came out and I was in like a book club in high school. I forget the book, I bought it, and then I don't know, I moved to university and my parents threw it out. Like my dad threw out a bunch of my shit that like I would have, like my grandkids will never have if I have grandkids at this point, because I don't have my daughter anymore. So it's like, what, well, I shouldn't have said that, I'll keep that on the down low, but like I lost a lot of stuff, and one of them was that book. And in that book, it literally showed, and I wish I knew what that book was called, because I don't, it's not in Chapters or Indigo. And it was like this thick book that talked about alternatives to what you're using. So how you have toothpaste, what are the alternatives to toothpaste? And this was when I was in high school, okay? So it wasn't very popular, although it was organic and it was like real things that people have done in the past. It's like passed down. It wasn't popular. And now there's social media, people are talking about these things on social media, so it's grabbing more traction, and people are saying no to GMOs, and they're saying no to the government and all these things because they're understanding. But that's not even the first layer of things. That's not even the first layer, okay? So you're doing that. Think about all the things that these people have done, and especially as they filter us. If those people who do these mean things die, and they have to come back and they have to eat their own shit, okay? So they did shit, but they can't take it when they come back, and at that time their memories are going to be wiped, okay? So the more that the frequency of the earth goes up, the more things come up with it, so all the bad things. So earth needs to do its thing. It's like, it's Mother Earth. It's like, I don't care who you are, I'm gonna make a tsunami, I'm gonna make an earthquake. Now I'm talking about the ones that earth makes by choice, okay? Not intentionally, not the governmental earthquakes, not the ones that are not the plastic earthquakes, if that makes sense, not the made up ones. So they do all these things and they come back and then they're like, fuck shit. Maybe they'll have these things, maybe they'll have the abilities, but they'll be fucked with, okay? So demons don't care about me. They don't. They'll give me the playbook. They'll be like, here's the rules, here's a playbook, you're good, I got you back. I know that the devil's not playing games with me. The only time I will allow that, like, I literally would be like, I'll talk to a demon and a devil. Okay, what can I do? And I'll do it in my head. I'm not going to go out there and cause trauma. I'm not going to go out there and cause trouble. But if I'm told to do so, I will. Because I know it's going to be a reward for me. And I'm not talking about like the little rewards. I'm talking about the big things. So for example, I saw a video earlier, and it was a really nice edited video made by this guy, and I'll try to find his account because I want to like put him on my like list of stuff because it's really good editing. I'm not sure about the accuracy of the information, but 50 Cent literally prophesized or manifested the downfall of Diddy. Apparently he made a video saying, and I always love 50 Cent, by the way, like I didn't understand why even before I was like super openly spiritual, like not with the world but even with myself, because the hardest thing is being like acknowledging yourself. Like it's like if you have curly hair and then you keep straightening your hair, right? And then the world is like, oh, I love your hair, and some people see you having curly hair, and then people see you having curly hair that don't like that you have curly hair, and they'll like be jealous of you, and then they'll envy you. And then there's other ones that are like, oh, you should like keep your curly hair, you're really pretty. But then you have to accept your curly hair, and you have to let it be natural, and you have to go out in the world and be like, hey, I have curly hair. Some people will be like, ew, why would you do that? It's not as much anymore as it was in the last 2-3 years or before, but like people still do that, and I've seen it, and I can't even understand. But now I understand, because the frequency of the earth is going up and all the shit in the people's like masks are falling off. Yes, you have food, you have water, you have your litter box clean. And then, if she doesn't stop, I'm gonna have to pause the video. But I don't want to, because I want to keep the video going. And then I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's why everybody shits everywhere, because it has to come out. It's like you're constipated. If you hold it for too long, you're going to die, or it's gonna come out your pores, or like it's not going to. Like, you have to sweat it out, or like you have to let that thing go. Okay, the longer you let it sit, the longer you can't be in the hospital or like get sick or some shit. So essentially, this thing is happening. So I'm like, okay, I need to heal myself. But is this happening to every single person? Yes, people are being affected a lot, like hugely. But then I thought, maybe not. Maybe it's just me, because we are a projection internally to out externally. So then, this is before I realized this, I've gone to the demon, a devil. I'm talking about the main one, okay? I'm not talking about like some other things like the bad cops. You know, we talk about good cops and bad cops. I'm talking about the bad cops. They're still cops, but they're the bad cops. So God, like that, the bad cop ain't going to God, okay? Because God's not even gonna see that guy. They're gonna see the good cop. And I know structurally in the government and in the police system, it's not the same. But yes, it is the same. Because the person who, like, sometimes you don't know the hand who is moving all the things around. So you think you know that guy is the authority. But what if the authority was the neighbor next door and you had no clue? Right? What if that neighbor next door is the best guy, but he's such a freaking gangster that everybody has to respect him? So that's why he's the good cop and everybody goes to him. Or like he's the hierarchy in the like police system. Everybody goes to him. You don't know. Okay? And that's why psychics would know. But in order for me to not and I don't want to say project, because I don't project as much, and by projecting I mean the lower level frequency stuff. So anything that has to do with like sense of power, like I might project that, oh, like that person is trying to do XYZ, but it maybe was just me that I needed to heal that part. I'm not talking about that stuff. What was I gonna say? So let's say the good cop. So I go to a demon and I say, please work on this for me, with me. And then the demon goes, okay, maze game. And then they play games with you, but essentially you're playing it for me anyway. I don't know if it's the same. Well, I mean, from experience, I don't know if it's the same with everybody else. I'm talking about specifically from experience, like naturally how I deal with it in a human level. But for me, anyway, it's like, okay, here's all the players, here's the board game, and that's what demons do. They play games, okay? And here's how you can win. But they can't lie. Demons don't lie. Yes, they do, but they don't. They only lie to liars, if that makes sense. Okay? They don't trick what people call chosen ones. They don't do that. Because essentially, for me anyway, I am a demon. Which means I am a part of Earth because I'm here to do whatever I need to do, which is my work. So what I do is I ask the demon, okay, why am I feeling this way? Why am I thinking this? Like, why am I educated this way? And then the demon would literally like explain it. And then I can go to God or other sources, whether or this, or just educate myself here on Earth and confirm if it's true. Now, I'm not saying the 50 Cent thing is going to play out how it is. You just wait as time goes on. A lot of things are not revealed to us, but the higher the frequency is, the faster, like the more forward and back you can go. So essentially I can go into any millisecond any minute, any 10 minutes, any hour, days, months, years, decades ahead, light years ahead. I can do that. People are given permission to do that. Do I fucking want to do that? No, I don't. Because the hardest part about being psychic, which is if you come back on Earth and you're forced to be psychic, is you're confused. You have delusion. You're like, wait, am I thinking in the future now? Am I in the now? Am I here? Is this real? That's very difficult. Because I had a second awakening, and by second awakening I mean being able to see and hear them without them judging me. And by them judging me, I mean like harshly judging me, because it's like, I have curly hair, right? I'm psychic, right? And then I just start straightening my hair. And then now I want to get my hair back to curly, but for some reason, like without me cutting my hair off, which is cutting your past off and cutting your own bullshit off. Yes, mommy, come here. They're gonna judge you. Your hair's gonna be like curly on this part, and then like especially if you got like keratin treatment, right? Okay. Or like let's say if somebody got a perm, opposite of what they naturally are. It's the same thing. So, hair curly, and then it's straight because you had keratin treatment, and unless you know how to take care of it, it's gonna look like that. Or like unless you know how to like reverse it, it's gonna look like that. So I'm over here and I'm trying to like wake myself up or like be awake because I'm just like pushed into it because life is just like this or that. Like you choose. Live or die. We tried that. It went to shit. It went to hell. So then you gotta live. Okay, how am I gonna live? I can't live every single day putting on a mask. Every single day straightening my hair, because at this point I'm exhausted. I can't even turn on my hair straightener. Okay, this is the analogy. Hopefully it'll make sense. Or it makes sense. In the end. It does make sense. So, my hair's curly, straight. I'm meditating. I'm switching between hair and spirituality. I'm meditating. So I'm like letting my hair be curly. And then they laugh at me. Spirit laughs at me. You straighten your hair. Look at it like that. Why would you do that? Look at the top of your hair. That's the more natural and healthier version. So that's what I get when I awaken myself. Because I'm tired and I want to be natural again. But that I don't even want to call it period. But that roasting that you get is like not worth not having the ability, if that makes sense. So, for that reason, it's like literal roasting. It's like you being hazed. It's like one of the most deadliest hazes you will ever deal with, because no one's there. You're feeling it internally. You know what they're saying is real. You know those visions are true, but then your body's like wanting to throw up and wanting, like your body's just like, it's like chemicals and toxins. And I'm not just talking about physical toxins either. I'm talking about like hate and belief systems and like healing the wrong way and like trying to find harmony and trying to find balance. And that's why Abraham Hicks is very important. If you listen to her stuff, she talks about split, like don't split your energy. Just go with one, just go with the flow. That's what that means. You're not like pushing and pulling. And it's so difficult when you're already in the lower realm because you have karma. Karma could literally mean not going to your doing what you're supposed to do. Now, there are things where things naturally happen. So what that means is that like you are saying, oh, I want, how do I use a good example for this? I can't think of one right now. But like, let's say you want to do the right thing and you're doing the right thing. Not me, another person. Okay, so I'm not using me for an example because I have a consciousness, if that makes sense. Some people don't have consciousness. I'm not even talking about what they call like non-players. There's a acronym for it. I'm not talking about NPDs or something like that. I don't remember. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who literally don't have consciousness. Like, they're living, they feel, they look like they have a soul, they look like they're in harmony, but they're like it just, no. Like, it's gross. Like, and especially if people think that they're a genius. And it's like, no. Like, it would be better if you're poor on the streets. Maybe you'll learn a little bit more there. Like, that's where all the lessons are. But you don't know that until you get out of it. If that makes sense. You don't realize that's why when they say, oh, like, God did that for you. Or, like, it happened for you, not to you. That's where you're supposed to sit down and talk to either God or the devil, which, in case, I highly recommend you never talk to the devil. Because you're, like, if you're not on a higher frequency, and if you're not a chosen one, and trust me, you will know. Actually, don't trust me, you will know you're the chosen one, because it took me years. I'm turning 31 this year, and I'm just like, oh, is that a thing? Like, but then I realized, like, in fact, the things that I see and hear, I have the right to. So I have authority over that. I'm authorized to know those things. And the reason I say that, again, is those people who come back down to Earth, so they've gone on, and let's say they don't choose any other assignments, they don't choose any other planets, they come onto Earth. If they haven't figured out their shit, or if they left the trail of trash, like physical trash on the Earth, on the physical realm, they've done things, like, emotionally speaking, you can ascend, like, on other realms and planets when you're just spirit and you're not matter, you're not, like, a human. That's a lot easier. But if you've actually harmed the Earth, you've harmed the animals, you've harmed anything on the planet, so like the food and the vegetation, there's a weighted chance, a heavy chance, I don't even want to say chance, there's a term, like, you have to spend, they said term, you have to spend, like, a term of your life back in the shit that you created. So might as well do it now while you can read, you can write, you can communicate, and right your wrongs now, so that it'll be a little bit less, and you literally can do it within 1 day or 1 year. It's just our time is a lot slower here, which is why, like, my body was a lot harder to figure out what my mind already knew. So I would, like, I knew, and it wasn't even an unconscious, because when you're psychic, you're dreaming awake. Like, you're awake when you're dreaming. That's one of the things which hopefully I'll get into some other time, because I know it, but I have to be given permission to talk about it, and by permission, it's like, it's not that I'm not allowed, it's just like, it's not the right concept and then not the right time. So, like, if you say something ahead of your time, you can get deleted and blocked, and then people have to figure things out later on in the future, and then they don't know what words and things to search. Okay? So this is why it's really, really important to learn your psychic skills now, because you don't know what the government's going to do. You don't know what social media is going to do. Okay? Because if you have skills, you have critical thinking as well. It is the same thing as being psychic, because you have to discern. But the thing is, with my body, I didn't know how to discern, for example, emotionally manipulative people. I didn't know how to discern good food with bad food. I knew that cucumbers are better for you, but I didn't understand, I couldn't discern why I was getting, like, why I felt better when I had tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuce, versus, even though I would eat healthy, I didn't understand that, right? You talk to other people and they're like, yeah, well, you shouldn't do this and that. It's obvious. It's common sense. Didn't your mama teach you that? Actually, no, my mom didn't teach me that. My mom just gave me rice, which caused me to have allergic reactions. She didn't know I was having allergic reactions, continued to feed me rice, and I continued to felt sick all the time and had stomach aches. still to this day I have to literally like write it down so that I remember, so that I'm not sick for like a week. You know, I know that, but like that's why with people, they know they shouldn't do something, but they do it anyway. But on that part, they're on this side making mistakes. They're on the, so like let's say people say good things happen to bad people, and this is what this video is supposed to be about. The balance, okay? Because I'm a Libra, and the scales have to be balanced, and Libras have to, that's their main mission. Personal, like actualization mission, and we all have different missions, and that's why it's really important we understand what words mean, because if it sounds gibberish to somebody, it's either gonna go over their head like it does with me when people say stuff like I don't know what that means, so I don't understand, and then unless somebody says it or words it differently, and I'm like, oh, like I get it. Like this week I had to write a service notice for what? I have cold water, and I had to write it in a way that hopefully they understand, and I had to use ChatGPT so that like it's more clearer to another person, but when I'm reading it, it's like, okay, like I just don't get it. But that's like how you do, like how it makes sense to these people. But for me, it's like if you're emotionally talking to me, like in a sense like, oh, I understand, let's work this out, I get that more. Like I just understand that a lot more, if that makes sense. Not in every aspect, obviously, like it has to be like based on the event, but like that's what I'm learning. But other people are learning, okay, I have to, the wise thing to do is maybe not throw trash out. The wise thing to do is maybe not create inorganic oranges and apples and pears. That's the wise thing to do, but they do it anyway. And so when they come back, the devil is not going to be like, the devil is going to like stress the fuck out of these people. They're going to think they're fine because on the physical realm, things seem fine because that's where their power is. That's where they're strong in. Doesn't mean that when you're strong in that, the devil still doesn't play games with you, even though it falls into the earthly realm and the devil. That's why it's a whole thing, like, right? And when I did that, I meant earlier on, I was talking about the energy that cycles, like the bicycle, like the chain, like it's all like connected. And I don't want to say that. I think I said that wrong. When I say it's a whole thing, I know what I'm talking about. But like, I have to be able to communicate it. Right? I wanted to make these videos like 2.5 years ago when I started to open up my wisdom a lot more and like make it translate to everyday life, not just, oh, I know I saw that spirit or that ghost and God told me this and I had that vision. Because why would I talk about it? Because it was just normal. Just like, why would I tell you how much Dawn I put on my on my sponge? And it's a real thing. It sounds ridiculous, but those who have lived it will know. To wash my dish, like, I know I only need a droplet or like a coin size, and that'll be sufficient enough to wash this thing that I'm washing, like and I'm bringing that example because I had to experiment and make my own little Dawn spray, which I will post about too, a video of it. And then it's like, oh, well, that's normal to me. But another person might be like, oh, how much do I put? Like teeny bit? Like, do I put a whole bunch? But then, like, there's foam everywhere. Like, especially if you put it in your dishwasher. There's, like, foam everywhere. And, like, you just wasted all of that soap. It's, like, a similar thing. I'm just trying to make analogies to hopefully help you understand what I'm trying to say until, like, I can maybe get into these parts a bit more. I'm on Earth, So you can make it work, be really fast. I can. But when you have a lot on your plate, or not just a lot on your plate, I feel like I'm digressing. I want to go backwards, but they're telling me to wait because this is important. I feel like I'm learning something here. Like, I wanted to talk about this like for 2.5 or so years because this is why I wanted me to wait, because I was on this train of thought. I got back on the train of thought. Like, I knew, I remember like being in high school or something, or just returning from university, like first year or something, and I like met up with a classmate of mine. We were in Williams Cafe, and I was like telling her about this like man, right? We both knew the man. Well, I didn't know him, but like she told me about him. And then she was like telling me these things, and then she was sharing her story, and then I told her, like, on the table, I was like, well, if you're doing, I don't remember exactly what I said, or like the conversation we had. I was like, if you're doing this and he's doing this, you need to do this and go around. And then I used an analogy, and that was the first time from my memory at this right now that I remember that me using an analogy was like, from the response I received was like, oh my god, like, how do you know this? How are you so smart? How are you so wise? Like, how are you so wise? I don't know. I just, like, I got it, and sometimes I shock myself. Like, that rarely happens where I shock myself, but you know what I do shock myself is when I can get a conversation right, like written format. Then I shock myself. I'm like, oh, I can like text properly, or I can converse properly. I'm like shocked when I do that, you know? So people would be like, oh, you're so wise, you're so smart. Okay, but then I learned this is why a lot of people are going to get in trouble up here, is that I've been judged very harshly all my life, especially these times, like the last, let's say, 5 or more years. Stop! You're too big. You're too heavy to go up there. And then they've been judged like, well, you're too dumb because like you have a disability, or vice versa. You sound smart. Why do you have these problems? And then, so like I didn't realize that those things were happening. I didn't realize people were manipulating. Like, they would manipulate situations and me because they saw that on this piece of paper there was 2 sentences that said I'm acting mean because like I'm in distress. And it's like, first of all, why did you write it that way? Why did you structure the sentence? Like, the way you wrote that sentence is not correct. Okay? So they're not in the position to know. They have no empathy. They don't realize what they're saying is affecting another person. They also don't realize I'm fucking wise and I have power, so I can literally screw that person's life over if I so choose to. Because I have God in me. Everybody has God in them. That doesn't mean that the creation gives you the authority to do shit. Just like me. I don't have the authority to make another person behave a certain way unless they cross me. If they screwed me over, I can do what it's like. You can do whatever you want. You can screw all of it over if you want. But because I'm up here and I'm strong up here, I normally wouldn't do it. But as I've learned, that's why I made a lot of demon videos. As I learned my root chakra, food, I'm learning about how it affects my body, power. Okay, how do I take my power back? I need to take my power back. What does that even mean? I don't know. Same thing with people. What is spirituality? What is intuition? I don't understand religion. I don't understand God. Who's Jesus? Well, us who see Jesus is actually pretty funny. But like, those who don't, it's like, it's the same thing, vice versa. So how do we balance that? Well, we technically can't. If we have karma, we have to pay it off. Okay? But in the same side, you can. Okay? Like, if you're in the higher realm and you ask, let's say, source for help, I'm not talking about like I'm talking about physical balancing of everything. Let's say you're God. Everybody can be their God, okay? Because you have free will. I'm talking about free will. That's what I'm trying to say. Not the spiritual one. I'm talking about free will. Whether you believe in this stuff or not. But especially if you do. So I'm a Libra, okay? And the scales are not balanced, which means, this is what he says in the video, if the scales are not balanced, if all these things are not balanced, you will create chaos. And the reason I made this video and I started to record it, even though I was hungry and I was just like stressed out of like, oh, I'm just gonna have a conversation for now it looks like an hour, is, okay, a while ago, I think I made the video for this, and I don't remember when I posted it because I am becoming more organized as things in my life, are changing. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, a while ago, I realized, because as it is inside, it is the outside. And it wasn't the demon video, the short demon video that I made. I'm not talking about that. As it is inside, it is outside. So, if the inside is imbalanced, this is the key. You have to know this. You have to understand this. Like, you must. It's almost like understanding the importance of how water affects you. You have to know that clean water is good for you, so you have to understand this concept, whether I'm saying it, whatever. Just I'm saying this, understand this concept because I'm saying it, so you have to understand it. If in the inside is imbalanced, as this guy is saying, in the Book of Wisdom, and I know there's another book that talks about it too. I haven't read the book, but I know in the book they talk about this. Because I saw an introduction of the video that mentioned the book, and when I researched it, and I heard a bit of the video, I was like, okay, this is where even the Book of Wisdom talks about this, but it goes way backwards. And what's the name of it? I have it in, it's like Kabbalah, not the Kabbalah, it's like the Kabbalion. Yeah, the Kabbalion, not the Kabbalah. I think that's Jewish. Which is actually pretty interesting. It's really good. I think Jew, Muslim, Zoroastrianism, and maybe another religion in there, Christianity, all believe in one God, which is Source. All the other religions believe in deities, which are real. These things are all real. It's just what aspect are you looking at it? So you got to look at the whole. So in Jewish religion, I think they have like variations, but I don't know. I didn't study all of it. I can only go based on what visions I get and what the realms tell me. So I'm sure there's like books out there and that like people are educated themselves on. But they talk about the tree of life, and the tree of life is also significant, which is Jewish people I think only think of one God, whether it's them or a God outside Source. But the tree of life is also in, I think it's like pagan. I don't know if Wicca and pagan are the same. Not really into it, as in like I haven't gone into it. I've gone into witchcraft in the sense of like herbal witchcraft, like using earth elements and herbs and just using the earth. I've gone into that, which is really helpful, which is how I learned about gardening and like food. And it's like spells, and what you say, you cast out spells, and what you and I'm sure in any religion and all spiritual teachings teach this, because the tongue is one of the worst things ever and one of the best things ever, but usually one of the worst. So I've had people like creating drama in my building and my life, and like the Malcolm Management, which is like the management company, just like manipulating things left, right, and it's like, yes, there's some truth to some things, but it's like it's not grounded, and it's not like, I'm seeing like something conquering like the building or like the management. I'm not sure, but let me not digress. So the book is called The Kabbalion, and the Kabbalion, they talk about this thing. So let's circle back. The outside, the inside, Same. So if the inside is imbalanced, the outside has to meet it, because this is where science comes into play. Where I'm not saying science comes into play necessarily, as I'm saying that there's evidence in science, like atoms and all these kind of things. I was so good when I came to Canada. I understood science and math. I was the highest grade in science and math, and in university it was like fucking drinking water. It was so easy. But then I would like skip to, I've talked about this, I'd like skip to the end of the equation, and I'd always get like messed up over it because I didn't show all the steps. So like I understand science a lot more than I understand language. And I think that goes for a lot of people who are spiritual, not by choice. But by choice I don't mean your parents making you do things. I'm saying by choice, by like God, the light, the source is making you do it. It's like if you go any which other way, you get attacked. It's almost like you're in a prison cell, you're in a military, and you have to do what you were told to do. Otherwise, you're like, your ass gets burned. Your ass gets kicked. So it's like that when I'm talking about force or like made to do something. That is where I'm coming from. It's like, yes, people go and join the military, but there are some who like, I'm just trying to say, like, I guess it's my purpose, but I didn't go wake up and be like, oh, that's my purpose. It could have been altered in the sense of, oh, I have a purpose of saving the environment, and everybody should and does and needs to. And there are things in life that you can do that goes into that alignment of purpose. I'm talking about you get whacked with like, whoa, this, like, what's the Grim Reaper? Apparently it's my friend. Like, and by my friend, I mean like, wants to chill. Now, do I want to talk to the Grim Reaper? Not really. Like, or like, I know I'm making a joke about it and I'm trying to make it more like humorous, but it is not fun. Like, and right now they're pushing on me to say it, and it's the part that's not fun. Is like, thankfully I'm doing this now. I should have done this like 2 or so years ago, but I was like worried about myself. And this is 66. I have to do something that I haven't done, and it bothers me. It's like 66% on my phone, and they keep showing me that I have to write something out, and I have to do it. I don't want to do it, but like, I mean, I want to do it, but it's just like, it's not something I want to do right now. But there's something, like, I put like a 6 sticker in front of my door a while ago, like 2 years ago, and like it got teared down, and like it's in relevance to that, so I have to, like, they keep showing me that, and I'm just like trying to see. But anyway, they want to push me something onto me, something to say that this is like power. Like, it's almost like, thank you. I just want to make sure. So they're pushing their power onto me, and by power I mean the spiritual realm. So it's like you're forced to see things and hear things, and it's in a way where it's I don't want to say my purpose or project. There's another word. It's almost like I'm given permission to do this. Of course, I have free will. And I could just, waste it. Just like wasting the Dawn, which I was talking about earlier, on the dish soap or the sponge, and wasting the whole thing. Or I could take that permission that they're giving me, and I'm seeing that I'm having the visions and the spiritual people and I'm saying by people, I mean all things, spiritual powers are around me. So one thing I wanted to say for a while now is I can physically move objects. Just like everything else that they've told me that I can do or see, or things that are going to happen, that's happened. And it's not just me, like other people have seen it happen. Like I'll say, oh, this and that would happen, and then it happens, whether it takes like 2 minutes or 2 years. I noticed that they have been telling me for a little while, I've known since I was a kid, they're telling me for a little while that I can move objects. I don't know if it's like through my hands, not touching it. I've done it before with other things, with a pendulum, which I always thought like, okay, anybody could do that, but like, I remember now, the other day I was in the kitchen, I was like, oh, my mom's actually jealous of me, and this is why the lower realms help, because you have memories of things, but at the time, I'm not saying or thinking that she's mean or evil. It's as I grow and heal, this is why narcissistic people and empaths can start having problems and do. And this is why I'm like, narcissists should just all live in a society together. Excuse me. Empaths should all live in a society together. Certain categories and groups of people should all live in society together, and then they'll be able to mirror each other, and they'll be like, fuck, we are shit. Because I'm an empath, and I do shitty things all the time. And by shitty things, I mean like, I wish for my home to be clean all the time, but then I get freaked out and stressed out, and I do other things, and I stress about other things, and I don't clean my home, but that me cleaning my home is the thing that's going to help me move forward, move on. And this is where witchcraft comes into play too, but I'm not going to talk about that this second. So then, the narcissist is one part of this, the empath is the other. In order for that to make sense, by having balance, those two parties have to be separate. And the reason I'm staring is like they're pulling me into, like, they want me to track backwards of what I was talking about. Okay, so thank you. This is where I'm like, track backwards. Okay, they're talking about, sorry about that for saying those things and showing that I was tracking backwards. And this is what I mean, like earlier, a few years ago, I would talk on the screen while I'm processing what they're saying, because I was judging what they were saying. I was questioning them, which meant I was questioning myself, because I didn't value myself. I didn't value this power. Does that make sense? There's a video out there of like the kid, there's a story of a dad saying like something about a Porsche or like a really expensive car, like, go and see how much you can sell this for, like what the value of it is. And then the kid gets this much from these people, and then comes back home, and the dad says, see, like, it's like the example of the water bottle. The same story has been recycled. It's like, depending on where you go, it's the value of the water bottle. If you're in the middle of the desert, the value of that water is going to be much higher than if you're by the stream. Or like, sorry, not by the stream. If you're at the grocery store, it's going to be a lot cheaper. So, or like in the airport. So the same thing with the car. And so what they're saying is that, like, I have to value what this power is. And they said, you have permission, and this is what I was track backing, you have the permission to do these things. You have the permission to ask certain deities for help, because some deities just don't care about you. Like, some of them have come to me and be like, yo, you're cool. I'm like, oh, really? Why? What did I do that's so cool? And then at the time, I don't think I'm cool, like, at all. And then as I learn and educate, and as I grow my wisdom, I realize, oh, okay. And I'm not talking about just on the spiritual realm. I'm talking about, like, especially on the spiritual realm. It's like, okay, the things that you've done And I'm saying this so you guys understand. Hopefully you can differentiate to see if you're the chosen one or not. Because if you're not the chosen one, you're going around in your head. Anyway, that's where the devil comes in, and then you're gonna have to play games, and you're gonna have to see yourself in the mirror, and that's just not fun. Trust me. I had never in my life had anything to feel guilty about until 2021. That, like, all my life, there's nothing in my life that I felt guilty about. Ever. And then when 2021 hit, I was like, because some things, like, when you're spiritual, it's some things that you do, you're just told to do it, you have to do it. It might not make sense to another person, but that's a rule. But that's a different story, because I feel at this point people are going to confuse that with projection and with, like, because there's layers to things, and sometimes you think you know everything, or you think you understand, and then you learn later on that, oh, that shouldn't have, like, if I had used my free will to do X, Y, and Z, or I went against my gut feeling, I would have. Some people just don't. Everybody has gut feelings, but some people just technically don't have gut feelings because they're just, like, not gonna be guided. Like, they're supposed to get into that karma, or, like, shit is supposed to happen to them. But again, what I'm trying to help you understand is that if you're given permission to do these things, if you're given valuable information and power, and all this is developed, especially if it's not by your choice, I'm talking about those ones, then if things happen to you, it's for a lesson. And that's so that you can understand, like, things happen, like, for example, I was in a hospital a lot growing up, and that made me empathize with those who, if I was aware, like, let's say if I wasn't a kid and my ego was growing and, like, going through shit, which is still, like, for me, I tell them, I'm like, and you can go from your future, you can go into your past and say, hey, like, I want all this shit in this lifetime, and say, hey, I want all this shit to happen before, or, like, by the time they're 20, or by the time I'm 20, so that the rest of my life I can have it easy. Like, I prefer to have those lessons, and I did that, and I do that, because I can go forward and backwards in time. So I can see, like, my future self talks to me and says, okay, you told yourself this at this time, so that by the time I'm 45, which I feel like something bad is going to happen around 40-ish, 40, like 39 to, like, 46, 47, something's going to happen. It might be another awakening, or it might be another dark night of the soul, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's something from my past or something that's happening in the present, I don't know. But then you tell, sorry, my hip, it just really, really hurts. But, like, what happens is that they're giving you permission to do certain things. So, they're giving you permission to access higher, I don't want to say higher knowledge, because knowledge somebody can write in a book, or they can be educated on. And by education, it's not the same thing as wisdom. Because if that were true, then the medicine, the doctors wouldn't do a lot of the things that they do now, even though it's not a wise thing to do, but they do it because they're in medicine. Like, for example, there was medical malpractice done onto me where they thought they had all the power and they could do whatever they wanted, and then I had infected hip bones and, like, eaten up hip bones. So it's like, half of the, like, basically the bone was gone. Like, it was just, like, eaten up, especially the joint. Sorry if that's triggering, or if I should give it a wording for that, sorry guys. But essentially, what was I getting into? Yes, wisdom is different. then education. So if you are given permission to have that, then wisdom also can be like, so there's education, there's other things in between. This is not a fully baked idea, but what's fully baked is that then there's wisdom, and then there's access. And I'm not just saying access, I'm saying you have full communication with whoever you want to call. So if you want to call I don't know why I'm saying greater, the greatest, what I'm trying to say. Wait. So I want us to talk about higher frequency when I say this, or like the greatest of the great. So I know in some religions it's like the divine, and then in other religions it's deities. But like sometimes I just like, it's just knowing. It's not even just knowing, it's like I have permission to information, if that makes sense. And now I have to use my lower realms, so power, food, what we were talking about, root chakra. Again, it's all vice versa. So we have access to that. We have to, let me change subjects for a second, because they're saying, okay, I've made my point there. So a while ago I wanted to talk about these things, but I didn't want to do it in the way that I thought I should do it. Now some of it is for my own benefit, because they would say like, don't do it right now, and I wouldn't say certain things. That rarely happened, very rarely. But a lot of the times that they did say, hey, make a video about this, I would be so hesitant. Like I could just see myself in the video like just like stuttering, or like my eye twitching, or like me looking a certain way, or like being weird. And it was just what I was healing on this, I don't even want to say on this realm, but like things that were going on in my life that were affecting my energies and my chakra. There are people doing witchcraft on me. And somebody commented when I made the post, like when I made the assumption, very first post I made the assumption that there's being witchcraft done on me, which we will talk about this video in hopefully in another video, because it is an important concept, but it's not what people think. But it goes into what I was talking about balance, because again, Libra, scales, if the scales are not balanced, people can come in and interject. Just like if you are if you don't have a strong immune system, you can get the flu, okay? If you are weak, or like if you have healed, things will trigger you, unless you are like, that's how you know like that you're healed, because you used to see things trigger you, used to see things affect you, but maybe not so much anymore. And that healing could have been through internal, using your wisdom. You could have used witchcraft to heal yourself, on yourself. You could have realized that other people are doing witchcraft through the videos. There's a lot of videos out now, but when I was trying to search for it, there was like 2, maybe 3. If maybe they reworded it, there was 5. But it's only when you're actually like healing or healed that certain videos come up. Sorry, mate. I'm gonna drink some water. I need to upload this video because it's gonna take up a lot of room on my phone. So, when I have wisdom, intuition, expression, love, okay? What does that look like? What does that look like on this realm, if you really think about it? There are nuns, and I'm talking about the real ones, not the play, the drama. This is what I want to say. I don't know if I should say it now or use it later. But we were talking about prophets, right? And I have to come back to the 50 Cent story for a second because of how 50 Cent prophesies, and it's like almost close to the exact same thing that I was saying about having permission to do stuff. There are certain people that have permission to do things. So they can either prophesize or they can alter things. Another thing I wanted to finish talking about was how I can move objects with, I don't want to say with my mind, but I can really literally move objects. It could be in the same room, it could be the same home. But they push that onto me a lot. They're like, hey, do it. Now, this particular thing seems like it's more for of an entertainment than it is for you have to learn this skill because it's a part of your purpose, or it's going to help humanity or the environment, it's going to help the realms. It's not about that. I think it's more for an entertainment purposes. Not purposes, but just for entertainment. So I don't know if it's for their entertainment or what it is. And another thing I wanted to talk about, actually I want to talk about this first. There's a channel that I discovered. Makes me want to cry a little bit. Makes me really happy too. I literally had just come out of my surgeon's office when I just, like, as in not the same day, but like was around at the same time. And my surgeon is very shy and his secretary is not. And it's really funny to me because I grew up with dentists, okay? And I've seen, like, the entire aspect. I've been in the office, I've been in their personal life, and by being like, we'd go camping and stuff. But I've been in the office, so I was able to see how, like, they run their business, and I was able to see how, like, they educate themselves and all the other things, right? Maybe not everything, because not everybody can see everything, but from as psychic, you can, especially if you go backwards. And a lot of the things I don't want to, and sometimes when people ask me, like, well, you're psychic, why don't you do this? It's like, okay, maybe if I chose to be psychic, I could do, like, a tarot reading for you and talk about this and that, which, by the way, yes, you can get demons through tarot readings. Somebody made a video about that, and I think I covered it before, and I would love to cover it again. Yes, you do. You can get that through anything, the music you play, anything, and people are talking about it now, and I love it. I love it so much. Does it mean I follow the rules? No, not really. But a lot of times, a lot of people don't get affected because on the physical realm, they're pretty stable. But if they're not stable on this realm, so they've dealt with narcissistic parents, they've dealt with narcissistic relationships, they've dealt with manipulation, they have karma. Yes, they are going to be haunted, and demons are going to come out through those readings. It's not like the way that you might think, but as you grow older, you are going to see those things. And people go and pray to Jesus and God and whatever religion. Oh, please don't do this. But then it's like you're just in the same cycle. It's like me, what I do, and I've been doing. I need to stop. I am stopping, which is why I'm not eating today. So you get processed. But it's like even like, oh man, I don't want to eat sugar. I don't want to eat those pizza pockets, which I love pizza pockets. Okay. I used to love Cheez Whiz, but then I'm not really into it anymore, so hopefully I'll get the same thing with pizza pockets or some other thing. Because I got it with oranges, right? I ate oranges so much that I, like, stopped eating oranges. So, I'm not saying this is the best way, I'm just sharing, like, how this worked out in the analogy. So it's like being like, oh man, I'm not gonna have any more cinnamon rolls, or like, I'm not gonna have any more this and that. Even if I make it myself, I don't even buy it. I, like, make it myself just because I want to eat it so badly that I'm willing to, like, make it, like, from scratch. Then I eat it, and then I get